You're tuning in today because we are tackling something that is literally the engine of human behavior, self-motivation. We're going to unpack this brilliant framework by Scott Geller. You might know it from his famous TEDx Virginia talk. Have you ever wondered why you can absolutely crush some projects with, boundless energy, but then other tasks feel like you're dragging a massive boulder up a hill? Well, you are in exactly the right place. We're going to use his core concepts to build a roadmap of how our internal drive actually works.
Okay, let's dive right into this. When no one's watching, living and leading self-motivation. This is the title of one of Geller's books, and honestly, it just hits the nail on the head. It encapsulates his whole theme perfectly. Think about it. Anybody can work hard when their boss is hovering over their shoulder, right? Anyone can put on a great show when the spotlight is blinding them. But true self-motivation, that magic happens entirely in the dark. It happens when nobody is checking up on you, there's no immediate reward waiting at the end, and you are 100% accountable to nobody but yourself.
So I want to pause for a second and just ask you directly. Do you feel truly self-motivated when no one is watching? Like, what does your internal drive actually look like when all those external pressures are completely stripped away? Hold on to your answer, really think about it, because over the next few minutes, we're going to unpack the psychology behind why you answered the way you did, and, more importantly, how you can actually level it up.
Let's move along and see how this all builds. We're going to use Geller's exact chapters as our roadmap for this explainer. So we'll hit empowerment through proper training, look at choices and their consequences, the power of communication, embracing true interdependence, and finally, we'll bring it home with Scott's own story.
Kicking things off with Section 1, Empowerment through Proper Training.
Now, what's really interesting here is how this completely grounds the psychology of empowerment. This is the bedrock of the framework. Geller makes this vital connection. He links that elusive, fuzzy feeling of being empowered directly to the very real, tangible training we get. We tend to talk about empowerment like it's some sort of magic spell, right? Like you just stare at a motivational poster and boom, you're empowered. But Geller shows us it's actually systematically built. It isn't just a feeling, it's a capacity that you actively cultivate. You simply can't feel truly empowered to tackle a task if you don't have the underlying preparation to back it up.
And you can see how this progressive pipeline builds. It kicks off with Step 1, receiving adequate training. When you train properly, you actually understand the nuts and bolts of the task. That logically flows right into Step 2, developing a sense of competence. Basically, you know you can do it. And once you know you can do it, well then you arrive at Step 3, achieving true empowerment. You're ready to take on the challenge, completely self-motivated. Why? Because the anxiety of the unknown has been completely replaced by the confidence of preparation. It's just a direct, logical pipeline.
Moving right along to Section 2, Choices and Their Consequences.
So once you've got the training and that feeling of empowerment, what actually makes you take action day in and day out? Well, breaking down Geller's ideas here, we see this really fascinating interplay. At a baseline psychological level, our behavior is heavily driven by consequences. It's pretty simple. We do things to get a positive result, a reward or just a sense of pride. Or on the flip side, we do things to actively dodge a negative outcome, like avoiding getting in trouble or feeling like a failure. I want you to ask yourself right now, in your day-to-day grind, are you driven by the fear of messing up or by the active choice to succeed? Because as the framework shows, whether you feel like you have a choice completely alters how you perceive those consequences.
So, the crucial point is this: perceiving a task as a choice fundamentally shifts your psychological response to the work. If you wake up and groan, "Ugh, I have to do this," you're acting out of pure obligation, and your brain, it processes that as a massive burden. But if you tweak that narrative just a bit and say, "I choose to do this," your motivation shifts powerfully. You reclaim your autonomy. The actual consequences of the task are exactly the same, but your internal drive to get there, totally transformed. It's a real game changer.
Which brings us to Section 3, the power of communication.
Up until now, we've focused on our internal choices, but obviously we don't live in a vacuum. Geller dedicates a huge part of his framework to communication, pointing out that it absolutely dictates the environment around us. The words we use with ourselves and the words our leaders and peers use with us can either empower our internal drive or just completely crush it. If the communication around you is hyper-focused on punishing failure instead of celebrating choice and competence, well, self-motivation simply cannot survive there. Positive, choice-driven communication creates the rich soil where self-motivation can actually take root and grow.
All right, on to Section 4, Embracing True Interdependence.
This is where we get to shatter the myth of the isolated lone wolf achiever. Being interdependent basically means being mutually reliant on each other.
It's this awesome state where shared community and support don't water down your individual motivation, they actually crank it up. It's super important we wrap our heads around this concept because it is literally the ultimate goal of Geller's entire motivational framework. Self-motivation doesn't mean you're doomed to do everything completely alone.
And this brilliantly illustrates that exact paradigm shift. Think about the strict limitations of just being independent. You are totally capped by your own isolated capacity. When your personal gas tank runs out, you stall. That's it. But look at interdependent. It unlocks these profound psychological benefits. When you share motivation, when you lean on a community for support and mutual learning, your self-motivation is reinforced by the people around you. Yes, you're the one driving the car, but you're being fueled by the energy of the whole group.
Finally, Section 5, Scott's story. This part right here represents the real emotional and practical climax of Geller's presentation. He uses his own personal story to ground all these high-level academic concepts we've been chatting about. He shows us that empowerment, choice, communication, and interdependence, they aren't just fancy bullet points on a presentation. They are the actual fabric of real, everyday human struggles and triumphs. They're the tools we use to navigate life when things get insanely difficult. By tying all these pillars together into a personal realization, he proves that this framework can be used by anyone, anywhere, to systematically change how they approach their life.
So, what does this all mean for you? How are you going to apply this framework to your own life today? Are you going to seek out the training you need, reframe those heavy obligations into active choices, and finally lean into your community? The tools are all right here. The only question left is, who are you going to be when the lights go out and absolutely no one is watching?